So welcome to our first session for the Generative AI in Scientific Software and Coding Workshop series. My name is Jessica Wang, and I'm a higher education specialist here at NSF NCAR, the National Center for Atmospheric Research. I am part of the planning committee alongside Megan Sobani, Tasia Peterson, and Ben Kirk. We are very excited to kick off this workshop series with two guest speakers today, Dr. Tisha Henderson and Julio Guzman from Microsoft. So before we get started, just a couple housekeeping items. First, at our organization, we are committed to providing a safe, welcoming, and productive environment for all participants. So when you registered for this workshop series, you did sign a code of conduct. So since we are a larger group here on Zoom, please make sure that you are being respectful to all the participants. The chat is opened during the entire event. So if you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to use the chat feature, but please be considerate and respectful of each other and also our speakers as well. If you run into any issues during this session or any future sessions, please reach out to me, Jessica Wang, or to Tasia Peterson. Our emails are featured down here at the bottom. And just a couple other things. We do have our two other events already planned out. So our next session is going to be on October 24th from 2 to 3 p.m. Mountain Time. This will be entirely virtual, similar to this event today. It's going to be on how to use GitHub CoPilot on NCAR supercomputers, Derecho and Casper. And this will be coordinated through our consulting services group here at NSF NCAR. Brett Newman, Rory Kelly, and Ben Kirk will be the ones leading that. And then our third session will be a week after that on October 30th from 2 to 3:30 Mountain Time. And this one actually will be hybrid. So if you're in the Denver metro area, you will have an opportunity if you want to come up to the Mesa Lab. This will be focused on generative AI laws, ethics, and best practices by Dr. Nicholas Clausen from Google. So if you've already registered for this event and you received a calendar invite, you do not need to register again. However, if you did receive a Zoom link from a colleague for today's event, please make sure you do sign up so that you receive the calendar invites, you get reminder emails, and other information about the recordings, and also any resources that are associated with each of these sessions. So the registration link is featured on the slide, and there is that QR code. And so now I will switch gears and hand the stage to Ben Kirk, who will be doing a little intro on sort of the motivation for this workshop series.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. So here's a couple snapshots from my Apple News feed. I don't know what other people have seen lately, but in the past couple of months, I just grabbed some articles that have kind of motivated my thought process here, right? Is AI taking over? Are software engineers going to become obsolete? Or are we in a hype phase and we need to reality check that? Or really, how is generative AI going to change the role of computer programmers and software engineers going forward? Where's the truth in this space? What's been exaggerated, and what can we do now and coming in the future? So, that's one set of questions, maybe more focused for people who do tool developments. On the next slide, though, there's another host of questions. As people who are involved in creating software products holistically, or maybe from an IT security perspective. ChatGPT is frequently wrong in coding input. So is there ways we can use it more effectively or around these bugs, or at least be aware of them? What about IT security? What are the implications of running some of these data hungry tool sets on shared resources? Is there anything we need to do differently? And then also, I'm not sure we're going to be able to get to it in this series, but it's a very emerging and timely input for this community. AI has a pretty massive energy need, and by some accounting, countries' Paris climate accords are going to be make or break depending upon how they handle their pivots to AI. So it's a very, very timely space. We're going to explore some of these issues, and very excited to take questions from the community as well, things you'd like to see as we evolve this process. As Jessica mentioned, we already have two additional events scheduled. The next event will be rather technical for people who plan to do software engineering on our HPC systems. And then, of course, the ethics talk, I think, will be broadly of interest again. So please join us and keep watching this space as well. So lastly, I'd like to turn it over to our director, Thomas Hauser, for a little words. So just by way of introduction, Dr. Thomas Hauser is currently the director of the Computational Information Systems Lab, or CISL, here at NSF NCAR. He joined NCAR in 2021, first as the Technology Development Division, or TDD director, and then as interim director of CISL, and has been named as the full-time director of CISL since about a year ago today. And prior to joining NCAR, Dr. Hauser served as the director of research computing at UC here in Boulder. He created a nationally recognized research computing organization and co-founded the Center for Research Data and Digital Scholarship. So please, let's welcome Dr. Hauser. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Thanks for the introduction. I think it's exciting to see how many people are interested. I think if I see this correctly, we have 132 participants, so kind of a large number. And yeah, I'm very excited to welcome you to our first session of our Generative AI in Scientific Software and Coding workshop series. And thanks for the organizers. Thank Ben, Jessica, Tasia, Negan, and the whole team organizing this, because I think this is very timely. I think generative AI presents us with new unprecedented opportunities to innovate and create and transform our research and education landscape. I mean, we've seen this morning at the members meeting. There was a lot of interest in kind of data-driven models for weather forecasting, right? There's a lot of work in that space using AI. We've also heard from faculty how they use, basically integrate AI in their classroom because students are using it. And so they have to basically address this, and how do students use this in a responsible way. And I think I was really pleased to hear from the faculty that they ask students to verify results, providing references, really going deep and not just blindly following kind of the output of a generative AI model. So I think this was good to hear. And also I think with a lot of this potential, I mean, there's responsibilities, and it's crucial that we also be cautious. And I was very pleased. I didn't know that the last talk is about the legal and ethical aspects. And so I think this is very good, because I think we need to apply these tools responsibly. And again, I think we are technologists. We need to explore those. And I'm very, very curious about myself about how AI is kind of can be used in software engineering. Especially, I mean, I'm working on launching a project to create this community software facility to modernize our model codes. And I mean, I've talked to a lot of people around AI. Some are super optimistic and say, oh, you just have to give the model the equations and then it will create all the software. I'm a little more on the skeptical side. I've been in HPC for 25 years, and I'm still waiting for an auto-parallelizing compiler that really creates parallel code. So, but I'm very curious, how can this help us? Because modernizing our codes is a daunting task, and we can use all the help we can get. So I'm super interested to hear and learn about this. And how can we apply this at NSF NCAR? So I think this is an exciting workshop series, and I hope we have a lot of follow-on conversations and workshop. So I don't want to talk too much. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Tisha Henderson, who directs Microsoft Modern Works for the US Academic West. And Dr. Henderson will discuss the fundamentals, some history, and provide a more general overview of AI tools and discuss the future AI in computation and information system. So I'm really curious about that, because again, CISL is the Computational Information Systems Lab. So I'm very curious how AI can be integrated into our work. And then I think after that, we'll have a talk. We have a presentation about GitHub CoPilot by Julio Guzman. So Dr. Henderson, please. I'm really looking forward to your presentation. And thank you for taking the time and present for our community.
My pleasure, Dr. Hauser. Thanks for having me here today. I will share my screen if somebody can confirm that you're seeing it okay.
Yes, you're all set.
Fantastic, thank you. And Dr. Hauser, I appreciate in the introduction when you shared your, I guess, dual feelings of curiosity and skepticism. And I think that's really fair. And as we're talking to institutions and organizations across the United States, I think that's A, very common, and B, very wise, because the curiosity blended with a healthy sense of skepticism means that you can forge a path forward that's both meaningful and safe for the organization. So as we dig into some of the fundamentals today, I hope that it sparks some additional curiosity, and it may breed some additional skepticism as well. So it's always interesting to see the questions at the end of these engagements. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tisha Henderson, and I lead the Modern Work team for U.S. Education at Microsoft. Today, I'm excited to discuss unlocking potential, the role of AI in education and beyond. And together this afternoon, we'll explore how AI is reshaping our academic landscapes and what this means for our institutions. But first of all, just a little bit about me, since you'll be listening to me for the next 30 to 40 minutes or so. I wanted to highlight that my doctoral coursework is actually in learning and organizational change. My areas of specialty and research are more around learning and organizational change. Topics like how the attributes of gamification increase learner-driven engagement. So generative AI is very common and forward in these areas of research, and I'm excited that I get to share there, and also in places like our engagement today with Sizzle. I've spent my entire career supporting academic institutions, both as an educator and corporately, and I'm deeply passionate about how technology can further provide equity and access for students, early students, mid students, doctoral students, and students that are entering their career fields. I'm excited that I get to be your first speaker today because I have the honor of setting the stage and getting you excited about generative AI and the enhancements that we see this innovation bringing to the business function and efficiency of academic institutions across the United States. And in my role at Microsoft, I lead a team of specialists that can deep dive into topics ranging from business outcomes to technical transformation. I will also say that I'm super excited that the speaker coming right after me today is going to be able to really dig in with you and speak more deeply about how large language models, specifically GitHub CoPilot, can support your roles in computational science and coding. Sorry about that. For the next 45 minutes or so, I hope to take you on a journey through generative AI through the lens of innovation, delegation, and creation. My primary goal this afternoon is to inspire you to think broadly about the art of the possible with generative AI. And here's a little sneak peek at where we are headed. But first, let's focus on how AI can reinvent education. AI offers numerous benefits, such as maximizing the value of your data. How are you currently using data in your institution? Imagine the possibilities with AI, deeper insights, and more informed decisions. Explore ways to accelerate learning. What if every student could learn at their own pace, receiving personalized support tailored to their unique needs? You can also identify opportunities to improve efficiencies. Think about time and resources we could save by automating routine tasks, freeing up staff to focus on higher value activities. And finally, empowering faculty and staff. Imagine if faculty and staff had more time to innovate in their respective positions rather than being bogged down by administrative duties. Let's look at some real impact across the globe. Things like personalized learning, decreases in student attrition, research support, and scaling across business roles and responsibilities. On the screen in front of you, you see just a few examples of generative AI use cases that are currently being received with high impact. Now let's dive into innovation. Teddy Roosevelt said, in the moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing. Think about that for a minute. Rarely is doing nothing the best choice in any given situation. But what if we don't know what the right thing is? This is where innovation comes in, and we're going to start off with an example. So I'm a native of Dallas, Texas, and a huge football fan. But what if modern football never came to be? In the early 1900s, college football faced a crisis. The 1905 season saw 18 players die and another 137 players seriously injured, highlighting the urgent need for change. The brutality of this sport led to widespread calls for its abolition. Concerned about its violence, President Theodore Roosevelt took decisive action. He convened a meeting with key football figures from Harvard, Yale, and Princeton to discuss the necessary reforms to save the sport and protect the players. This meeting led to the formation of the Intercollegiate Athletic Association of the United States, which later became the NCAA. One of the most significant reforms was the legalization of the forward pass in 1906. This rule change not only made the game safer by reducing physical confrontations, but also added a new strategic dimension to football. To illustrate the lasting impact of this information, consider my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. 65% of their forward progress yards in the 2023-24 season were passing yards. This demonstrates how the forward pass has become integral to the modern game. The story of football's forward pass serves as a powerful example of how innovation, driven by necessity, can lead to significant improvements in both safety and performance. It underscores the importance of being proactive in identifying and implementing changes that can transform practices and outcomes. As we consider the role of information in our own fields, let's take inspiration from this historical example. Whether in sports, education, or any domain, continuous improvement and adaptation are key to achieving both safety and excellence. With this lesson in mind, let's examine how AI is becoming a business imperative across various sectors and the challenges organizations face in its implementation. The era of AI is here. This chart represents the amount of time a new, innovative technology took to reach 100 million users. The mobile phone, 16 years. The internet took 7. Facebook, 4.5 years. But when ChatGPT launched, it took 3 months to reach 100 million users. And interestingly, the AI phenomenon is not just Gen Z. It spans across all age groups. Data suggests there are 2 reasons that are driving this. First of all, employees see AI as the key to getting through their overwhelming workloads. And secondly, employees lack guidance from their organization about AI use at work. Employees need a vision and a plan from the top. Thus, events like are being organized here. But before we can know how to leverage AI to innovate, it's important that we have shared definitions. AI is a very broad term, which covers many different models. We are seeing a boom in the space of large language models, which are a type of AI, sometimes called generative AI. These programs for natural language processing use deep learning and neural networks. There are different versions of these machine learning models produced by various companies. Microsoft is working closely with one of these companies, OpenAI, which has produced several LLMs, such as GPT for text generation, DALL-E for image generation, and Codex for code generation. The GPT models are a family of generative models from OpenAI that can understand and generate natural language and underpin other generative capabilities like generating code and visual content. And just in case you're wondering about the GPT, the G is for generative, which refers to the way the model was trained to predict or generate text by predicting the next token in a sequence of tokens in an unsupervised way. Models are trained on a body of raw text data, allowing them to learn the statistical features of written text and using it to predict more text. PS are pre-trained, meaning that the model has already been trained on a large collection of language data. And transformer, the T, is the type of neural network used in the AI model. It is a type of deep learning network that can learn from data and make predictions about what will happen. For large language models today, this is the dominant type of architecture. It may seem that we're entering a new era in AI, but several momentous milestones in the field have brought us to the inflection point that we see today for the transformative potential of AI. Artificial intelligence has a long and storied history that spans many decades. Some of the earliest work in AI was done in the 50s and 60s when researchers first began to explore the possibility of creating machines that could think like humans. During the 50s and 60s, AI research focused primarily on symbolic AI, which involved creating symbolic representations of knowledge and using them to solve problems. Researchers in this field developed early versions of what are now known as expert systems. I'm sorry, is there a question? Okay, back to expert systems, which are computer programs that mimic the decision-making abilities of human experts in a specific domain. In the 70s and 80s, AI research began to shift away from symbolic AI and towards sub-symbolic AI, which involves using statistical methods and mathematical models to solve problems. This shift was driven in part by the realization that symbolic AI was too complex and difficult to scale, and in part by the development of new computer hardware that made it possible to process large amounts of data quickly. In the 90s and 2000s, AI research continued to evolve, and new subfields began to emerge. One of these was machine learning, which focuses on creating algorithms that allow computers to learn from data without being explicitly programmed. Another was neural networks, which are mathematical models inspired by the structure and the function of the human brain. Recently, generative models like the GPT models and DALL-E and many more have risen and continue to advance the field of AI. These models are able to generate new examples that are similar to examples from a given data set. It's being used in diverse fields such as natural language processing, computer vision, speech recognition, and much more. Overall, AI has come a long way since its inception in the 50s, and it continues to evolve and improve at a rapid pace. But what is generative AI, and where does it fit into the scope of broader AI? Generative AI is a subfield of artificial intelligence that focuses on creating systems that can generate new examples, such as images, text, or speech, that are similar to examples from a given dataset. The goal of generative AI is to develop algorithms that can learn from the underlying probability distribution of a given dataset and use this knowledge to generate new examples that are similar to the examples in the dataset. Generative AI models can be classified into two broad categories: generative and discriminative. Generative models such as the GPTs, DALL-E, and models like that learn the underlying probability distribution of the dataset and can generate new examples from the learned distribution. Discriminative models such as deep neural networks learn to differentiate between different classes or categories and are generally used for tasks such as image or speech recognition. Generative AI sits on top of other areas of AI like unsupervised learning, supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. It relies on the capability of those models to extract useful features from the data and use that for learning the underlying probability distribution of the data, which is used for generating new examples. Overall, generative AI is a rapidly growing field within AI, and it has the potential to be used in a wide range of applications, such as computer vision, natural language processing, and speech recognition. Here you see a visual that breaks down all of the different types of AI and visually demonstrates the breadth of the term. I love this visualization because it makes it easy to understand why the term can be so confusing and why people come at AI with such different perspectives. So back to innovation. Hopefully by this point you're asking yourself, okay, great, how do I get started? So let's walk through a few suggestions as potential starting points. The potential applications of AI in education are tremendous. This makes it more important to ensure that users, from education leaders to individual learners, have the resources to be able to effectively use new AI tools. We have a number of AI tool trainings at various levels at Microsoft that you or your organization can leverage to ensure everyone has the right skills to effectively leverage AI-powered technology to advance learning. Getting AI ready means you've invested time to evaluate your data estate and are making the necessary moves to migrate your data to cloud. My personal opinion is it's preferably Azure Cloud. And with your data estate well managed, you'll want to explore the intelligent apps and intelligent app experiences within the Azure Cloud. We know developing applications can be time consuming, but with GitHub CoPilot, which you are talking about later today, you can significantly increase developer productivity. Customers using GitHub Copilot are reporting that their developers are 55% faster. And who doesn't need more development resources? This is just the beginning of what the age of AI holds in store for us as we continue to pursue our vision to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. A recent Work Trend Index report tells us that 64% of employees don't have enough time and energy to do their job. And employees lacking time and energy to do their job are 3.5 times more likely to struggle with innovation or strategic thinking. Innovation can come in the form of employees starting to embrace the idea of using AI to support their work. In fact, 70% of employees are open to delegate some of their work to AI to lessen their workloads. And while for many, AI-related job loss is top of mind, actually 49% of people responded that was a top of mind concern. The data also shows that managers are looking to leverage AI to empower people, not to replace them. In fact, managers were 2 times more likely to say that AI would be most valuable for boosting productivity versus cutting headcount. A few examples of this innovation from Goldman Sachs, OpenAI, Forbes, and McKinsey speak to the impact that generative AI can have on work tasks, automation, and the global economy. Innovation can also come in the form of medical support. And 2 examples that I like to highlight is an example of a social media post where somebody gave credit to GPT-4 for saving their dog's life. Their dog was diagnosed with a tick-borne illness, and that was due to the help from GPT-4. Also, in a pediatric case, a boy had seen 17 doctors over 3 years for chronic pain, and putting all of that data into ChatGPT actually helped with the parents find a diagnosis with the medical support for those the chronic pain that the child was experiencing. So specific to education, where do we see significant areas for innovation? Although AI has already been used to boost inclusivity and productivity, recent advancements offered the opportunity to imagine solutions to long-standing challenges in education at a time when they're perhaps needed most. It's inspiring to consider the opportunities we have to maximize the transformative potential of AI in a variety of ways. First of all, AI can tailor educational content to meet the individual needs of each student, allowing for a more personalized and effective learning experience. It can also assist in making educational resources more accessible to students with disabilities, ensuring that everyone has equal opportunities to learn. Building AI literacy is crucial to equip students with the knowledge and skills to understand and utilize AI, preparing them for the future workforce. AI can also enhance support services, such as chatbots, providing immediate assistance to students and faculty. Lastly, automating routine tasks can free up time for educators and administrators to focus on higher value activities. By integrating AI in these ways, we can create a more inclusive, efficient, and effective learning environment. Once innovation occurs, the next step is delegation. What tasks and systems can be delegated to generative AI? To give you an example, I'm going to tell you the story of the avocado. Chipotle introduced avocado, built by robotic company Vibu, as part of its efforts to enhance kitchen efficiency and reduce the manual labor involved in guacamole preparation. Traditionally, preparing a batch of guacamole could take up to 50 minutes, but with avocado, this time can be reduced by over 50%. The robot can process a full case of avocados, handling up to 25 pounds at a time, and it takes approximately 26 seconds to fully flesh out each avocado. Vibu is developing an artificial intelligence and machine learning stack to be connected across all of its robotic solutions. The goal is for future iterations of avocado to use machine learning and sensor fusion to evaluate the quality of the avocados and quantify waste reduction, as well as the efficiency of the cutting, coring, and peeling processes. I also hear an AI tortilla chip maker, Chippy, is up next. The delegation of guacamole making has significant impact on Chipotle's business. The first comes by way of operational efficiency. By automating the labor-intensive task of avocado preparation, Avocado allows Chipotle employees to focus more on customer service and other food prep tasks, improving overall operational efficiency. Secondly, Chipotle is seeing cost savings. The precision of avocado's processing helps increase avocado fruit yield, which aligns with Chipotle's sustainability initiatives and can lead to significant cost savings. This efficiency can potentially save millions of dollars annually. Employee satisfaction is also on the rise. Reducing the time and effort required for guacamole preparation can alleviate some of the less favorable tasks for employees, potentially improving job satisfaction and retention. And finally, customer experience scores are up. With more streamlined operations, Chipotle can maintain high culinary standards and deliver a consistent, high-quality experience for customers. Overall, the introduction of avocado represents a significant step forward in Chipotle's use of technology to enhance both its operational processes and its customer experience. But in order to delegate, it is first important to understand how to communicate with the models. This communication is often referred to as a prompt. A prompt is a set of instructions or questions you use to tell CoPilot, Microsoft's version of the large language model built on the OpenAI GPTs, what you want it to do. So what makes for an effective prompt? First of all, be conversational and know that nothing is wrong. I have found that the more I experiment, the better I get with prompting. And here are a few hacks to help you get started quickly. Effective tips for prompting include being specific and detailed in your request, writing in full sentences with instructions, and including the tone, the purpose, and the preferred format of the response that you're hoping to receive in return. Less effective strategies are being vague or using just a few words or giving no context on preferred output. Here's a list of do's. Be clear, be specific, keep it conversational, give examples. You can even attach web links into your prompt and ask the large language models to review websites or other documentation that you would like your response to be filtered through the lens of. Write legibly, check for accuracy, provide details, and finally, be polite. And I know that I always get a snicker when I mention the importance of being polite to the models, but it is very common to find that the more polite you are and the more kind and respectful you are with the models, the better responses that you'll receive in return. Here's a list of don'ts. Don't be vague. Don't request inappropriate or unethical content. Try to avoid using slang, jargon, or informal language. Be sure to not conflict the instructions as you're working your way through your prompt. And try not to interrupt or change topics abruptly. One don't that I will add that's not currently on the slide is don't treat prompting like a web browser search. CoPilot and other versions of large language model LLMs are not search engines. Treat it like a conversation. Encourage the LLM to learn how to communicate better with you. It's a lot more about context and detail than choosing the correct keyword search. So here's an easy acronym that I wanted to leave behind today, just to give you something quick to think about as you're developing your own prompts. And the acronym is PREP. So the P is explain who you are, include a persona for your prompt. R, give it a role or a voice. E, be explicit in your instructions. And P, set the parameters of the answer. So now that we have a common understanding of prompting, what other things should be considered when determining how to best delegate? I'm particularly intrigued by the work of Dr. Ethan Mollick. Dr. Mollick is a renowned AI expert and associate professor at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Many of you may already be familiar with his groundbreaking work, and he has several publications in the field of artificial intelligence. Dr. Mollick offers practical advice on how to effectively integrate AI into our daily lives and work environments. He offers the idea of task thinking versus systems thinking. So according to Dr. Mollick, task thinking focuses on individual tasks and how they can be optimized or automated. This involves breaking down work into specific, manageable tasks and finding ways to complete each one more efficiently. For example, using AI to automate data entry or customer service responses. Dr. Mollick challenges us to come at delegating to generative AI with a systems thinking approach, which focuses on the bigger picture, considering how different tasks and processes interconnect within an organization. This type of thinking emphasizes understanding and optimizing the entire system rather than just individual components. This might involve redesigning workflows or integrating AI across multiple departments to improve overall efficiency and effectiveness. Dr. Mollick argues that while task thinking can lead to incremental improvements, systems thinking is essential for achieving transformative change. By adopting a systems approach, organizations can better leverage AI to create more cohesive and efficient operations. Apply this thinking to the avocado from Chipotle. Chipotle could have saved time by simply purchasing a machine that could expel the meat of the avocado more quickly. But they didn't stop there. They automated the entire process of guacamole making in order to gain the most impact. Mollick's insights highlight the importance of thinking beyond individual tasks to fully harness the potential of AI in transforming business operations. As you think about delegation, what would give you the most bang for your buck in your current role? A perfect example of delegation is the application of tutor bots. Tutoring delegated to generative AI. Research conducted at Harvard and the University of Toronto demonstrates the positive impact of AI-driven tutor bots on learning outcomes, particularly in math education. These findings underscore the potential of AI to enhance educational experiences and support student success through personalized tutoring and real-time feedback. And finally, let's talk about how to create with AI. As Alan Kay said, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. We'll start this portion of the talk with a story about Netflix. Once upon a time in the late 1990s, a small company named Netflix started as a DVD rental service. Little did anyone know this humble beginning would spark a revolution in how we consume entertainment. Fast forward to 2007. Netflix made a bold move by launching its streaming service, allowing viewers to watch movies and TV shows online. This was a game changer, setting the stage for what would become a fierce battle known as the streaming wars. Netflix's early entry into the streaming market gave it a significant advantage. While other companies were still figuring out their digital strategies, Netflix was already building a vast library of content. But it wasn't just about having a lot of shows and movies. Netflix knew it needed something more to stand out. So it began investing heavily in original content. Shows like House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, and Stranger Things captivated audiences and created a loyal subscriber base. These original series were not just popular, they were a cultural phenomenon, drawing viewers in and keeping them hooked. But Netflix's success wasn't just about great content. The company was a pioneer in using data analytics to understand its viewers. By analyzing what people watched, how they watched, and what they liked, Netflix could offer personalized recommendations. This made the viewing experience seamless and enjoyable, ensuring that subscribers always had something they wanted to watch. As Netflix's popularity grew, it set its sight on the global market. The company expanded into new regions, tailoring its content to suit local tastes and cultures. This global strategy paid off, bringing in millions of new subscribers from around the world. Netflix's user-friendly interface and strategic partnerships with device manufacturers and internet providers made it accessible on virtually any device, from smart TVs to mobile phones. Despite its success, Netflix faced increasing competition. Giants like Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Apple TV Plus entered the fray, each with their own unique offerings. The streaming wars were in full swing, and the battle for subscribers was fierce. Yet Netflix continued to innovate, explore new genres, and investing in interactive content. They were constantly improving the platform. Through it all, Netflix's commitment to quality and customer satisfaction built a strong brand loyalty. Subscribers knew they could count on Netflix for high-quality entertainment, and this loyalty helped the company maintain its edge in the crowded streaming market. Today, Netflix remains a dominant force in the streaming industry, a testament to its early vision, innovative strategies, and relentless pursuit of creative excellence. As the streaming wars continue, one thing is clear. Netflix's story is far from over, and its journey will continue to shape the future of entertainment. Now, let's apply the learning from Netflix's creativity to generative AI. Over the past few years, we've collaborated with numerous higher education institutions to enhance the student journey using technology. This effort aims to improve student success, benefiting both the students and the universities, and preparing students for workforce. Initially, our approach was descriptive, analyzing statistics to provide insights and responses. We then moved to reporting and dashboarding, which are only valuable if they're acted upon. By diagnosing and segmenting different cohorts, we've significantly helped institutions, and recently we've focused on automating these processes, aligning systems to gain insights and make predictions based on historical data. Our journey has evolved to a prescriptive approach, using comprehensive learner records to recommend the best resources for student success. Generative AI has taken this to a whole new level, allowing students to engage with their data and gain agency over both their learning and their career paths. Just imagine a scenario where a student can interact with an AI agent to manage their coursework, plan their time, and find campus activities. This reimagines the student experience, making it more seamless and informed. My son is a college student right now, and one of those college students that's constantly changing his mind about majors. Sometimes when he's deciding on whether to change again, it takes weeks and weeks to get an advising appointment. Imagine if he could interact with his data throughout his time at the university and align it to degree requirement data from the university. and then get real-time information on the consequences of degree plan changes. And even further, imagine if he could also get recommendations based on his interests and strengths and weaknesses as a learner. I would save a fortune, I think, because he would graduate sometime soon. We need to identify and automate repetitive tasks in our systems to enhance human interactions and reimagine student engagement in ways that we hadn't considered before the advent of generative AI. So I'm going to populate this slide. I'm going to go ahead and fill it out so you see everything on the slide. This is just a few examples and use cases of ideas waiting in the wings to be created across higher education institutions. There are a couple here that are already in the works that I would like to highlight. First of all, if you'll notice in the event use cases, the very first column in the darkest purple, personalized marketing and promotion. A large Ivy League in the United States recently did personalized acceptance letters based on application essays. We now have the opportunity where we can actually see a data source and then build marketing interactions to be really, really meaningful to students and to show how much we actually care about their success. Another example is AI-powered student support on the bottom row. We have a customer that's trying something called the MeBot. The MeBot is a student support bot that begins freshman year, first semester with a student, and then follows that student through the course of their academic history at that institution. When they come to campus, they're introduced to their bot, and they're taught that this bot is a first level of defense for anything that the student may need access to on campus, from academics to social to job opportunities and hours of food offerings around the campus. As we delve deeper into the possibilities of AI in education, it's important to recognize that this future is not a distant dream. It's already happening. And these are examples of places where the creativity is already starting to take form. First, let's talk about the University of Michigan. I'm sure many of you are familiar with their story. The University of Michigan's AI tool, Maisie, is revolutionizing learning by providing 24/7 personalized support. This not only saves instructors time, but also improves students' grades significantly. The genesis of Maisie was rooted in accessibility. Initially, the tool wasn't fully compliant with the university's web accessibility guidelines, so they quickly updated the customized AI tool to ensure that all students, including those with disabilities, have equal access to educational resources. Next, let's head south to Auburn University. At Auburn, the Biggio Center for the Enhancement of Teaching and Learning has developed an immersive course called Teaching with AI, supporting faculty in redesigning their courses to incorporate AI so the content is engaging, but supports AI literacy and future career readiness for all of their students. On the research side, we're working with a number of institutions to provide a platform that helps researchers comply with key compliance standards. At Emory Healthcare, for example, we worked with them to develop a unified data platform to support research studies on various diseases using de-identified clinical data. These examples from the University of Michigan, Auburn University, and Emory Healthcare illustrate that the future of AI in education is not a distant vision. It's unfolding right now, right before our eyes. Other examples of creativity using generative AI is Klarna, the online shopping product, Klarna's AI assistant, powered by OpenAI. Assistant successfully managed 2/3 of customer service interactions in its first month, handling 2.3 million conversations. This AI tool, equivalent to the work of 700 full-time agents, has improved customer satisfaction and reduced repeat inquiries by 25%. Available 24/7 in 23 markets and over 35 languages, it has significantly enhanced Klarna's customer service efficiency And at this rate, it's projected to boost profits by almost $40 million in 2024. Another example is Case Western. Case Western is revolutionizing across their systems with generative AI. It started earlier this year with an HR virtual agent that led to a 60% reduction in HR call volume. And the bot took less than 10 minutes to build. More recently, Case Western has launched a pilot of the Spartan Answers chatbot on MyCWRU, powered by Microsoft CoPilot. This AI-driven tool aims to enhance student services by providing easy access to university information. It pulls content from various case.edu websites to deliver quick, accurate responses, complete with footnotes for verification. This initiative, a collaboration between the Office of the Provost and the University Technology team, seeks to improve communication, increase engagement, and support student success. And from this creativity, the impact is real. The impact of AI is already being felt across multiple industries. What if we could continue replicating this impact across the academic space? Thinking about CarMax, apply those efficiencies and think about the efficiencies we could achieve in education if we could streamline processes that traditionally takes months or years to achieve. From Progressive, imagine reallocating such savings into improving student services and resources. From EY, what if we could redirect that time towards enhancing student engagement and academic support? And from the MBA, how can we redefine student experiences in higher education with AI? Personalized learning, real-time feedback, and so much more. So when I think about this specific to the role of the CISL, generative AI can significantly enhance the capabilities of the Computational and Information Systems Laboratory in several impactful ways. First of all, and something that you're thinking about and reviewing later today on the call, automating code development. Generative AI can streamline the software development process by automating repetitive coding tasks, optimizing development workflows, and improving overall productivity. Tools like GitHub CoPilot, which uses AI to assist with code completion and debugging, can help researchers and developers write more efficient and error-free code. Other ideas are enhancing data analysis. GenAI can assist in created synthetic data, which is particularly useful for training models when real data is scarce or sensitive. This can improve the accuracy and robustness of climate models and simulations, leading to better predictions and insights. Improving model accuracy. By generating high-quality synthetic data, generative AI can help refine and enhance the accuracy of computational models used in atmospheric and climate research. This can lead to more precise weather forecasts and climate predictions, which are crucial for understanding and mitigating the impacts of climate change. And finally, facilitating collaboration. Generative AI can support collaborative efforts by providing tools for code analysis, bug detection, quality assurance. This can help teams work more efficiently and effectively, ensuring that the software and models developed are of the highest quality. So as I approach the conclusion of my remarks this afternoon, I'd like to turn our attention back to Dr. Ethan Mollick. Let's explore some of his key recommendations for getting started with AI. First, invite AI to everything. Encourage the use of AI in various aspects of work and life to explore its potential benefits. Also, be the human in the loop. Always maintain human oversight to ensure that AI is used ethically and effectively. Tell it who it is and treat it like a person. Provide clear instructions and context to AI systems to enhance their performance. And remember, this version of AI is the worst AI that you will ever use. Recognize that AI technology is continually improving, and today's tools are just the beginning. So why does this matter? Remember, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And as you embark on your AI transformation journey, know that Microsoft is here to partner with you every step of the way. Together, we can harness the power of AI to create a brighter future for education, ensuring that every student has the opportunity to succeed and to thrive. Dr. Malick's insights provide a solid foundation for understanding how to integrate AI into our daily lives and work environments. Now let's take this a step further and discuss how we can actively implement these ideas to drive meaningful change in our institutions. I want to leave you with some actionable steps that you can take to harness the power of AI and ensure that every student has the opportunity to succeed. First, partner. Embrace the AI transformation journey by forming strategic partnerships with Microsoft, with other edtech vendors, with other forward-thinking educational institutions even. These collaborations will drive innovation, foster a culture of continuous learning, and ensure that your institution remains at the cutting edge of educational technology. By working together, we can create a more dynamic and responsive educational ecosystem that meets the needs of both students and all of the people that support those students. Next, persist. Continuously engage with AI and recognize that its true value unfolds over time through consistent use and exploration. As highlighted in Microsoft's 2023 Work Trend Index, the benefits of AI become more apparent with sustained engagement. Encourage yourself and encourage your teams to experiment with AI tools, integrate them into daily workflows, and share their experiences. This persistent approach will help uncover new opportunities for enhancing teaching and learning processes. And finally, pledge to take action. Commit to actively integrating AI into your educational strategies. This means developing comprehensive plans that incorporate AI-driven tools and methodologies to enhance the business outcomes of your departments, thus enhancing the business outcomes of your institution, all while creating more job satisfaction. Be innovative, be creative, go find your avocado. Let's build a roadmap together that leverages AI to create a more personalized, efficient, and impactful experience today and in the future. Thank you again for your time today, and I am going to stop sharing and transition over to Julio to dig into the GitHub CoPilot.
Thank you so much, Dr. Henderson. We do have a little bit of time for questions. If anyone wants to either unmute themselves or they can type it in the chat.
Oh, I see a question here in the chat. Managers say that they won't get rid of people right now, only to train them to use AI, but that does not square with many of these examples. How many avocado processing employees were replaced by the avocado? Oh man, this is a long one.
Sure. And and D Watts. I'm not sure. I don't want to call you D Watts. That doesn't feel like a good. I will say, first of all, if you dig into Chipotle's example, and this question comes up, often, and there's a lot of information out about Chipotle's example and how the automation of processes, the delegation of processes to AI, the using AI for creative, in new and creative ways, like tutor bots. The intent is to scale in areas where we don't have enough time or personnel to have meaningful human-to-human interaction. So using the avocado example, and if you dig into it online, you'll find lots of information and details. by taking away that very labor intensive task of guacamole making, their employees are having more time to spend face to face with their customers and improving customer experience. So there's a cost savings because the avocados aren't being destroyed or thrown away due to improper guacamole making. So there is cost savings there, but there's also increased revenue based on repeat customers, based on people coming back and having a better customer experience, based on being able to keep other items in the food line fresh. And so the intent, I believe, and nobody can fully tell the future. And that's one reason why I like the quote about the best way to tell the future is to create it yourself, is there are many jobs and there are many parts of jobs that take a lot of time away from creative application of our roles, that take away from knowledge work and force us into task work, when maybe our brains and our skill set is better used to create that new knowledge. And the intent behind leveraging these AI models is to provide scale in places where there are short-staffed industries, where there are customer service or human-to-human interaction areas where growth may be needed or may be helpful. In the case of the tutor bots, just being able to have for students to have 24/7 access, which is not humanly possible without the support of AI.
Wonderful, thank you. So I see a lot of questions in the chat, and I want to make sure that we give Julio enough time and that we also have a break. So I'll do Nandi's question, and then Kevin, I do see your hand raised. Anyone else who has a question in the chat, please continue to do that. We will record these. We'll take note of these questions and then hopefully answer them at a different time. So Nandi's question, which also got a lot of pluses, was when it comes to maintaining data within specific AI models, who in the organization takes a big role in data security, privacy, and quality control, for example, where the data is pulled from. Please share your lesson learned on approach to audit trails and transparency of the data.
I would say that for the purposes of this conversation and being able to answer this quickly, that would really probably not be possible, because it really depends on the AI model that you're employing. All of the AI models, specific CoPilot with Microsoft's model, we have different data privacy policy that is Microsoft policy than maybe some of the other models that could be in your institution. I will say that from best practice, whenever we're exploring setting up large language models in the institution, something that we recommend as a best practice is to engage, back to that partnership call to action, engage with your partner of choice. Where are you implementing these? Which of the large language models are you determining to implement? And then set those up with the appropriate technical staff to do an assessment and an analysis of the security and data privacy policies that are set up within the tenant of your organization. And so much of that has to do with where the content is being pulled from. If this is a chat GPT that's going to sit on top of the internet, or is this a productivity large language model that may sit on top of your productivity suite, like a Microsoft M365 Copilot or a Google Gemini that may sit on top of the Google productivity suite? And so the answer is multifaceted, and there's a lot of answers. And so the best practice is that I guess as far as policies and permissions, that does lie typically with the appropriate IT staff. And a best practice is to partner with the technology company that owns the AI solution that you're planning on enabling, to make sure that the policies and permissions are set up within your tenant correctly.
Thank you. And then we'll take one more from Kevin.
Yeah, thanks. At the risk of being snarky, on your last slide there, I wondered if that middle picture of the Scrabble tiles was included for humor, because
because it was misspelled.
To me, it looks like a classic example of current generative AI pictures.
Dolly. Dolly does have a problem with spelling. I think that it's been very interesting to watch. So I did do that picture early in Dolly's, and thank you for pointing it out, because it is an attempt at snark. The large language models are learning, and I think that's something that's so interesting. And even we released Dolly in CoPilot. I don't know, gosh, probably, I don't want to be wrong on the timeline, but it's been many months ago, maybe 6 months ago, I'm not sure. And over time, as Dolly has lived within the CoPilot experience, I use predominantly CoPilot because I work for Microsoft. So I know that there's a lot of different experiences. You can tell that Dolly is learning to spell over time. So that was an early clip when I built that slide, and there were spelling inconsistencies because Dolly did not know how to spell. And through prompting and through exploration, you could get Dolly to spell, or you could get Dolly to eliminate words altogether, because Dolly doesn't see words as spelling. Dolly sees everything as a graphical image. And so the words are just images, and Dolly made assumptions about what that image would look like. And if I were to recreate that slide today, and maybe that's what I should do, is recreate that slide and put a current picture of the misspelling in the middle to see if it's correct, and just highlight the growth. But that was yes, you caught the image. It was a GenAI created image, very similar to early iterations of humans having 17 fingers, and now some of the pictures are getting so realistic that it's hard to tell them apart. So I think that's one of the fun and exciting things about GenAI and interacting with it, is to see the learning curve on the model, and how over time things progress and become more realistic from a human perspective. And that's important to consider about GenAI, whether it's through prompting and conversations, or image creation, or even with the coding experiences, is while we are learning GenAI and how to interact appropriately, the AI is also learning humanity and how to interact appropriately. And so there are times, back to my point about not using a CoPilot prompt as a search engine and trying to just really hammer in on the right keywords, treating it as a conversation and understanding that my first response may be incorrect. That is true. And sometimes it takes me several responses, and I interact with the tools daily, and sometimes it takes me several times to get a response that I was looking for. And at the end of that thread of conversation, my last question to CoPilot will be, tell me what I should have asked you first to get the right answer as a first response. And so the GenAI is learning me, I'm learning the GenAI, and then I can communicate more clearly with it the next time. That's a little bit of a tangent, and I know we're running low on time, but just kind of feeding into that idea of the model's learning, the picture having misspelling versus current pictures have fewer misspellings. I'm not going to say they don't have misspellings, they still do, as the large language models are continuing to learn and grow and train on the back end.
Thank you so much, Dr. Henderson. If we could, in the React, if you want to do a thumbs up or a claps, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We do want to do a very, very quick, brief break, just so that you can do a bio break, anything like that. So please return back at 3:16. So about a quick 4-minute break, 3:16 Mountain Time, and then we'll get started. Next up is Julio Guzman, who's going to dig a little bit deeper into GitHub Copilot and potentially do a demo as well. So please take a break, and we'll see you in a few minutes. All right, Julio, if you have slides you'd like to share, go ahead and get those pulled up.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I basically just have a demo here.
sure.
I'm going to share my screen. Can I share my screen right now, or do we need to wait?
I think you can go ahead and start sharing. As I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a CoPilot or GitHub CoPilot demo by Julio Guzman. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Well, my name is Julio Guzman, and I work as a cloud solution architect. I've been working with Microsoft for 9 years or something like that, and I'm pretty much a developer. So I'm going to show you a couple of scenarios on how to integrate Copilot, and as a developer as a developer point of view, how to integrate Copilot in your daily activities, right? So I'm going to show you, and I saw on the chat window when you were doing, introductions, that not all of us are developers. Um, so, I'm going to explain some concepts. So if you are a developer, you will already be familiar with some of the concepts, right? But just in case, so everyone is on the same page. So basically here, we are going to explore GitHub Copilot. And I already have this solution ready, right, for this demo. And I'm going to show you a couple more things. And this is Visual Studio Code, right? This is just a code editor. And the code editor is basically helping us to, work with the files related to an application. So usually we got editors like this one. We have Visual Studio like this one here, the full version, the enterprise version, right? And they will provide tools for developers to write the code, test the code, and, if something doesn't work, try to troubleshoot what is going on. Copilot has different integrations. So we can integrate this with Visual Studio. We can integrate this with each different clients. And pretty much on the documentation, you can find, how to integrate Copilot in your development environment. So I usually, right, work with Visual Studio Code. And sometimes I also do the full Visual Studio version. So those are the ones that I'm going to use over this session. But just take in mind, if you look into the documentation, you can probably find a couple more editors where you can integrate Copilot. There are different ways to work with Copilot, to integrate Copilot into our development workflow. So the first thing I'm going to do here is, this is a completely empty new project. And we're going to basically ask Copilot for some help, right? And this is a pretty common scenario as a developer. You start working in a new project, you need to start creating the files, right? And you need to start from, this starting point to creating the initial set of files. So I'm going to do a pretty simple scenario, right? So, I know this is not the more complex scenario in the world. This is going to be pretty basic, but the main point here is to look at how to integrate the tool, how to collaborate with the tool, how is the tool going to help us to speed up the development process, right? So first scenario here, completely new application, and this editor, I'm already logging into the editor, so my account already has the license that I require to use Copilot. I already had the extension to use Copilot, right? And here on this editor, basically I can look for Copilot, and I have this already installed and configured, right? So it's pretty easy to do. And after doing that, we can basically here on this icon, hopefully you can see it. It's on the bottom right of the editor. You got this Copilot status menu. And probably can make this bigger. And basically here, this is telling you, okay, Copilot is ready to go. You can start working with it. The second option here is the CoPilot chat. So the CoPilot chat is one of the options we have here, right? Not the only one, is one that we can use. And if we click in here, basically we are going to have this chat window where we can interact with CoPilot, right? So from the previous session, we were hearing about the importance of prompting, that we can create prompts and ask for, right? And pretty much start a conversation with CoPilot. So pretty much here, we can ask for help, right? We have this command here, and you can start asking CoPilot, how can you help me or whatever. But the first thing we can see here is we can say, help me implement a hangman game in JavaScript, right? So traditionally, if you want to do that as a developer, right, you will need to create a couple files. This is a JavaScript application. JavaScript is, how to interactively work with the browser window. And basically here we are telling Copilot, okay, let me help me to create a new JavaScript game. And we can basically just provide this input to Copilot. And as we were discussing on the previous session, the more details you provide, the better output you will get, right? Right now, it is a pretty basic prompt. Just help me to create this. But, I can provide more details in here. Like, I would like to have these many words and how many attempts and, all the details that are going to help me to get a better output from the Copilot response. So I'm going to pretty much just, send this over. And Copilot is pretty much giving me some answers here, right? And as we can see here on the output window, and hopefully you can see that, we have the step-by-step. So this is explaining me what I'm supposed to do, right? So you need to initialize the variables, create these functions, and it is even helping me to understand each function, what it's trying to do or what it's supposed to do, right? And pretty much here, we have the implementation of the game that we just asked for, right? And we have pretty much summary here. You can see that here we have a link, right? We can click this link and continue the conversation. So this is suggesting me, okay, you already asked for this. Have you think about this other item that might be useful for your scenario, right? So I just asked for a JavaScript hangman game, right? And that's it. So this is telling me here, you can also allow a player to play a game after winning or losing. So you didn't ask for that, but this is something that is really common for this scenario. So if I'm interested into that, I can basically just click in here. And it will basically just give me the updated answer covering this additional scenario, right? And here it is, right? And as you can see here, this is a JavaScript file. So we can basically just from here, apply in the editor. We can create a new file, right? Or if the file already exists, we can basically just copy over the code that is providing, right? So let's do something else here. So basically here we are asking for, the HTML page so we can integrate this. One more time, this is giving me the updated answer. right? And here, we can save it, index HTML. Right, and now we can create the second file here. And the name of this file is supposed to be styles. The last one here, it is supposed to be a JavaScript file, which is supposed to be named here script. Right, pretty much we already have our game here. If we just try to execute the page, we are going to have this interface right here. So as you can see, while I was talking here to you guys, I'm pretty much trying to explain what I'm doing. In a few minutes, we have, this game, right? And as you can see, we can basically create a new game from here. We can add the letters here, and it is updating this dynamically, the attempts that are left, right? And this was just done in a couple minutes, right? And we can continue the conversation, right? So from here, we already have our code. Copilot in the GitHub Copilot on this editor, it is going to use the information of the files that we have open on the workspace. So right now I have opened these files. So when I ask a question to Copilot, it is going to use these files as a context to understand what I'm trying to do, right? So here, how can I add a feature to display a visual representation of the Kanban progress? So let's click on this link. It is going to generate the updated version for us. So updated version of the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's try this one more time. And pretty much, let me update the content. And just after this, we are going to look into a different demo. But give me just 1 second here. Let's save this. Now the styles. Let's execute this one more time. And let's see if this was updated. Again, well, something is happening. We need to troubleshoot what happened here. But pretty much it's supposed to, give me the answers. So probably here, somewhere we will need to understand, the suggestion. We can see here that I think I didn't copy the right one because I saw something different here. Let me see. Well, anyway, but pretty much here you can keep asking questions, keep the conversation going, and working in your scenario here. So as you saw, it is pretty simple to do. We can basically just rely on the chat and open the files to give context to Copilot, and then we can start conversating. Well, we can start conversation with Copilot, asking for things that could help us as developers to complete our work, right? So in a couple minutes, we just created a new game in JavaScript that probably if we had to do that manually, even if we were trying to copy code from, the internet, like Stack Overflow or something like that, it will at least require some more minutes to try to figure out how to put everything together and copy the files and everything, right? So it is really helping us to speed up the process. But let's now review a more realistic scenario, right? So we have this application. This is an existing application, right? I'm just using the editor here. In this scenario here, this is a really common scenario for developers. You are told, okay, you are supposed to start working on this application. You are new to the project, right? And you don't know what's going on the application. So you need to start asking questions around. So with CoPilot as well, we can basically use this on the editor, right? We can basically right click on the editor on the file. We have this menu item, CoPilot, and we can basically click on explain. So CoPilot will basically just look at the file. This is telling me, okay, this file, it is doing, whatever. So as you can see here, this is explaining the whole file to me, right? So the people repository class implements this interface, and it is serving as a repository for managing these entities and so on. So as you can see, even if we don't know anything about the code, right, we are pretty new to the project. That is a really common scenario, right? As developers, we are pretty much working on different applications all the time. You can basically use Copilot to give you more context on what is going on that code or that particular method or that class, right? So that is pretty useful. And even if you are not new to the project, and I saw there are some developers here on the call, it is a really, or at least with some developers that I have talked with, when you start working on a development project, even if you are not working on that project for a couple of weeks, when you get back to the project, you pretty much forget everything about that project, right? So this is pretty much helping you to understand what's going on with the repository or the classes or everything that you got in here. We already saw that we have this chat available, right? And that's cool. But we also have some more integrations in here. So let's say that we need here a new class, and this class is basically representing an object, right? So we got person and properties for that person, and city and properties for that city, right? So let's create a new file in here, and I'm going to use this state name for the class. And the main idea here is that we are going to save information related to states here. So we just saw we can ask the Copilot chat, and we can provide the content and the context and, ask for something. But because we are developers, right, and we don't want to, waste time going to the Copilot chat and copying over instructions, we can provide a comment here, like class to store state information or something like that. This is right away helping us and giving us some suggestion here, right? And basically, I'm just using the tab key, right? And this is suggesting me some properties, right? And I'm pretty much just auto-completing the information in here. And if I go back here, right? And, this is pretty much how .NET works and Entity Framework works. So you don't have to worry about the details, right? This is just the syntax. But pretty much I need to join that in here. And you can see that we already have the, related property in here, right? So the class that we just created, we are linking that class here. And same thing in here, right? If I need to do something else, like expose information here. So what I'm doing here in this sample is pretty much saving on the memory of the process some information about the, records that I'm trying to keep, person and cities. And from here, we can, even add more data. So you can say something like add data to the in-memory database for state and cities. right? And this is, as you can see, just giving you all the syntax and all the instructions that are required to integrate with, you know, whatever you're trying to do. This is not working because I haven't exposed this yet here, right? But if I go back here, new line, and right away Copilot is helping me and telling me, okay, this seems like something that could be useful for you, right? And if I get back, everything seems to work one more time, right? So this is pretty useful, and it is helping me to speed up the development process, right? Because I don't have to type all this information. And as you can see, I have the same instruction over and over again. And if I had to do that manually, it will take me a couple minutes, right? With Copilot, it is pretty much accepting the suggestion that is giving me and integrating that into the um, the code that we're trying to. So let me just remove this in here, right? And let me just execute this in a second here so we can see the application up and running, hopefully. And this is .NET application, so it is compiling the code. And let me just, I don't know how I'm using Firefox. Anyway, and here is the endpoint that we are displaying the information about, the users, the in-memory database that I'm using. And as you can see, I can pretty much display all the information in here. We can see the information in here, but this looks pretty bad, right? So we can come back here one more time, right? And we can stand on that page. And, on the .NET side, this is a Razor Pages project. And this is the format that we are going to use. So let me stop the application from running. And I'm going to get back one more time to Copilot. From here, we can, on the index HTML page, we can ask for, can you so basically I'm asking for a responsive table to display the information from and I already have that in, right? So this is giving me the new interface, right? And this is also giving me some additional steps. So you need to be completely sure that this library is being integrated into your application. But, this is by default on this kind of projects. So let's execute this one more time and let's see the output. And as you can see now, we got the updated interface, right? So with just a suggestion from Copilot, we get a weight from this interface to this interface that looks way better. And, we need to fix a couple things, like, well, we need this name here, right? And we can basically just keep going with Copilot and integrating new work into this. So some more scenarios where this could be useful. We got this bicep file, right? And bicep is how you manage infrastructure as code. So you got a code file in here to create databases or virtual machines or web applications and stuff like that. So pretty much you can, one more time, add a comment here and say something like create a new app service and a new app service plan or something like that, something that makes sense, right? And this is pretty much giving you all the details that you need, right? So this one is for creating the app service. This one is for creating the, this is the app service actually, and this is the app service plan, right? And we can basically just ask Copilot for more help on how to deploy that, right? So right now, as you can see, even for infrastructure resources, we got this pretty useful help, and it is helping us to generate those files. And as developers, this is pretty much helping us to speed the activities that we are doing here. So one more thing that I wanted to show you on this solution here is on this repository, right? Yeah, this one here. I got this operation in here that, I mean, it could be improved, right? It is working, but it's taking a lot of time. So we as developers have these kind of situations all the time. We don't know what's going on. The application is not performing as it's supposed to be, right? So one more time, we can come here to GitHub Copilot, and we can provide the name of the file, or we can also copy the code and paste the code in here. And we are pretty much giving the context or giving a sample so Copilot will understand better what we're trying to do. And we can ask here something like, can you please help me? And I always try to be polite just in case AI take over. But anyway, can you please help me improve this code? And you can basically just paste the code, or you can point to this file, right? Because this is on the workspace. And basically what's going on here, and just in case you are not a developer or you are not used to C#, pretty much I'm trying to get a single person here by the ID of that person. And in order to do that, right now, I'm getting a list of all the persons on my database, right? And then iterating over each one of them and trying to compare the ID of that person with the ID that is passed here as a parameter. So if I have 5,000 persons on my database, this is going to take a lot of time, right? And I'm also calling this instruction here that is going to pretty much wait for 5 seconds until it moves on to the next activity, right? To the next line of code. So this could take a lot of time because it's not optimized. So I'm asking Copilot, how can I optimize this code here? Copilot is giving me the answer here, right? So I can copy this over. And pretty much this instruction that is not performant, right? Copilot is telling me, okay, there is a better way to do that. You can pretty much call this instruction here, pass the ID, and this is going to be way more performant and return the result, right? So pretty much scenarios where you need to improve new code, you need to implement new code, you need to improve existing code, you need to know what is doing, you need to fix something that is not working, right? Let's say we can also, I mean, everything is working so far, right? But let's say that this doesn't work. You can highlight the code. You can come here, Copilot, and fix this. And this is going to give you some details on, you know, if this wasn't working, why it's not working and what you can do with that. So let me just discard that because everything is working so far. We can also come in here and use the Copilot menu and generate the docs. So this is going to generate documentation for the code. And, you know, usually as developers, developers do not like to generate documentation for the code. It's a kind of a waste of time sometimes. So this is going to help us with that. We also have here generate test. So probably for that one, we will need to get the whole method here. And this is giving you the unit test as well for that class, for that repository and that method, right? Just in case, if you're not a developer, a unit test is code that is testing code, right? So we can automate that test. And if something goes wrong with the code, because we are automating the test, we will know right away that something is going on that we need to take care of. And as you can see, pretty much we have everything on this interface, right? So we got one more thing where we can integrate Copilot in here, the terminal, right? So usually we are going to integrate code, or we are going to upload code or publish our changes to a central repository, let's say GitHub, right? So everyone in our team will be able to get that code. And we can come in here, and I already have the GitHub Copilot extension and the GitHub client here. We can ask here the age Copilot. We can ask questions, right? We can ask for suggestions. How can I push my changes to GitHub to a new branch or something like that? I don't know. And this is asking me the interface that I'm using. So I'm using, the GitHub CLI, and this is also explaining the command. This is giving me the command, right? So even on the command line interface, we can ask for some help, and we can interact with Copilot in here. And this will help me to suggest we need to execute in here. So let me do this pretty quick here. I'm pretty much just publishing my changes to GitHub. But as you saw, we can also integrate that into the terminal, right? And this is pretty useful because, I work with developers all the time. And most of the times developers do not like, the command line interface, because these integrated environments have everything that you need. So sometimes you don't even need to know the commands. But just in case you need to, you can also come in here and ask for Copilot. And you can also ask Copilot to explain things or suggest things, right? So that's pretty cool. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is on the repository side. So this is GitHub. This is pretty much a collaboration platform, right? So that belong to the team, to this repository, right? They will be here. They will have access to the code. So when someone does something with the code, their changes will be here, right? So everyone else will be able to download those changes. So this is a central place so we can collaborate together. And something that is going to happen here is that we just push changes here, right? And I forgot to do something. Give me just 1 second. Let me add the changes that we just did. Right, and let me just push changes. So I'm publishing the changes here. Okay. Lowercase. So let me just inspect this one more time. And now this is telling us, okay, you got more changes in here. So you are publishing changes, right? And usually, right, and one more time, if you are not a developer, we are using this tool to publish our changes. We got something that are called pull request. And pull request is basically the way that we have to collaborate with our team. We can tell the team, okay, we are trying to publish all these changes that are related to these features, right? And they are intended to do this. So other members on the team will be able to look to our changes, to the files, everything that we just did. they can provide feedback, right? And if everything looks good, we can integrate those changes into the stable version of the code, right? So in here, we are going to create a pull request. In this very same interface, we have Copilot here. So we can ask Copilot to get a summary for the changes that we just did on our local machine that we are publishing. And based on the information that I just uploaded, the commits information, and this is something internal, but the comments that we provided and everything, this is suggesting, everything that I'm doing. So, as a developer, I don't have to grab all the details, but I can use the Copilot input and refine this text in here, add some more things, whatever, and save some time, right? And as you can see here, we have this nice interface. This is telling me everything that is new, performance improvements, user interface enhancements, and configuration changes and everything, right? So everything that we have done so far, it is here, and Copilot is helping me to do that. The last thing here is on the Copilot, on the GitHub interface, right? We can also work with the files. Usually we are not going to do that, right? Because we have our local environments. But just in case, we can also open a file here and ask Copilot in here. So we can ask Copilot, can you explain to me this file? And just as we have on the local editor, this is giving me some explanations, right? But we can also do something here, like, do you see any security improvement? Right, and this one is pretty cool because usually as developers, security is really hard to implement. So usually we don't do anything related with security. So this tool is pretty much helping me to, automatically validate the code. And if we have some room for improvement on security, performance, or anything that you can think, this is helping me to understand how can we improve and even suggest how can we do that, right? So as you can see, we got full integration. We got the terminal here. We can ask for commands. We can ask for input in here. We have the local interface. We can start from new projects or existing projects. We can ask for context or details on existing files if we don't know what they are doing. We can also ask for new functionality, to improve functionality, to look for security concerns. And we can also, on the GitHub, use the GitHub Copilot on pull request. So this is going to help me to generate all the comments and everything that we just did with our changes. And we also have integration on the interface, on the user interface. So the key point in here is, as a developer, right? In a couple of minutes, you will be able to generate some code, publish that code, generate the pull request with all the information related to that code. Instead of, trying to figure out how to implement the features on your own, you can use Copilot, adjust accordingly, right? Because the code is kind of generic. But you can pretty much adjust to your specific scenario. You can also use Copilot to give more inputs. And at the end of the day, this is going to save you a lot of time, right? And that's pretty much it. So I just tried to cover Copilot on different places: terminal, editor, and the user interface. And hopefully, you have a sense now of what can you do with Copilot as a developer and how this can save you some time. Just a quick note, because we have these models, right? And they are trained in a specific date when they are published. Sometimes the information that they produce, they are outdated. And it is a good idea, and it is still a developer responsibility to look at the code that it was generated and pretty much validate what is going on in here, right? So probably if I go to the documentation right away, right now, and I look for the Microsoft Web namespace for Bicep, probably this version in here, it's a bit outdated, right? So probably it is a good idea as a developer to take advantage of it, but at the same time, validate the output, look at the documentation, the latest version of the products that we are using, and try to ensure that we are using, you know, the most up-to-date and most secure technologies, and not exactly what Copilot is giving us, right? Because, it depends on the version that the model was updated and so on. So it could generate outdated versions sometimes. And that's pretty much it, guys. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for one question. And just as a reminder, if you haven't registered for the workshop series and you're interested in future sessions, I am putting the link to the registration page, so please be sure to do that. But one question that was in the chat was, what are the differences between CoPilot and ChatGPT? I can do similar things using ChatGPT. And it was also a comment saying, I usually let ChatGPT work on one file or a code snippet.
Yeah, so they are similar, right? But Copilot is more specific to coding, right? The main advantage of using Copilot is the context, right? Because you got the context of your files. It will also take in consideration your programming style. So it will, as long as you open the files, right, to give context to Copilot, it will inspect the files. It will notice the way that you code, the way that you declare variables, that the syntax that you use, the indentation, and so on. And it will generate code based on that input. The ChatGPT one is more generic, so it will not take into consideration all the context. And also, Copilot is integrated in your editor, so you don't have to get away from the editor. You can do everything on the editor, rely on Copilot, and it will speed up your development process pretty much.
Thank you. There was one follow-up question from another participant. Is Copilot better for coding than GPT-4o or the new O1 preview?
Well, the models are integrated, to Copilot. So Copilot was integrated with 4o a couple months ago, I think. So I don't think they are better. They are kind of integrated and they rely on each other. So you can use Copilot and you will know that, when a new version is updated, you will take advantage of the new model features. So yeah, they are kind of integrated, if you will.
Thank you. And I think we have 1 minute remaining. So a comment in the chat following onto your stale version number comment. How frequently is the Copilot training base updated or retrained?
Well, I'm not really sure if there is a cadence for that. Probably there is, but I'm not really sure. So yeah, I can follow up after the call with that question.
Great, thank you. So it looks like we are right at time. Thank you everyone for your participation today, for joining in on our session. As I mentioned earlier, we have our next session on October 24th. We'll dive deeper into using GitHub Copilot on the NCAR supercomputers. If you have any questions, I'll be hanging on for a few minutes afterwards, but I hope you all have a great rest of your day or evening, wherever you may be. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.